This week, Trump's Attorney-General William Barr tried to put the 2-year Russia investigation to bed. He called a news conference to tell us what he decided was the big news in Mueller's report, saying no collusion, no obstruction. Mueller, who wrote it, was not there, and neither was the report. Barr didn't release it till over an hour later. And once he did, it was clear that Barr's version was very different from Mueller's actual conclusions. Barr was quickly accused of playing politics. Flashback to 1992, when Barr served as Attorney General under George Bush Sr. We found this old photo, same glasses maybe, but a lot younger and very earnest about the importance of keeping the law free from political interference.
The Attorney General must ensure that the administration of justice, the enforcement of the law, is above and away from politics.
27 years later, and now Barr himself is being accused of political interference for how he's interpreted Mueller's report. We have the whole thing now, all 448 pages of it. There are lots of redactions in here, but there's still a lot that's not blacked out. And some important parts don't match up with Barr's account. Mueller was assigned to look for two things: conspiracy or collusion with Russia and obstruction of justice. On conspiracy, the report clears Trump. Mueller basically says that the bar for criminal conspiracy means it had to be Trump's plan for the Russians to interfere with the election. And there's no evidence of that. His report does say that Trump was very aware of and not honest about how the Russians helped him win the election. Even Fox News now calls his behavior immoral and repellent. On obstruction, as in trying to stop the investigation, it's a lot more complicated. Here's what Barr says.
The evidence developed by the special counsel is not sufficient to establish that the president committed an obstruction of justice offense.
But you know what? That's not what Mueller says. Mueller writes, if we had confidence that the president clearly did not commit obstruction of justice, we would so state. But he does not so state. Instead, he writes, this report does not exonerate him. So what's going on here? If Mueller thought Trump may have obstructed, why not just charge him? Well, he was operating under a decades-old understanding that a sitting president can't be indicted. And because of that, Mueller decided to not make any judgment on whether or not the president committed a crime. He argued that it would be unfair because if a president can't be charged, he can't go to trial and defend himself. But in Mueller's conclusion, he still writes, no person is above the law. So who can decide if a president committed a crime? Congress.
The special counsel made clear that he did not exonerate the president, and the responsibility now falls to Congress to hold the president accountable for his actions.
But again, that's not what Barr is saying. He's decided that it's all over, that the president has been exonerated. Is anyone really surprised, though? I mean, this is a man who, before Trump named him AG, he called the Mueller investigation grossly irresponsible and fatally misconceived. And what Barr thinks really matters, because before 1998, special counsel reports were delivered directly to Congress. Now they go directly to the Attorney General. And you can blame Ken Starr for that. Do you remember him? His special counsel investigation began probing Bill Clinton's finances and ended up focused on Monica Lewinsky's dress. Many say it went overboard, even calling it the White House Kama Sutra. The solution was to give the AG all the control the next time that there was a report. So what does happen now? It's called Appendix D. This part of the report lists all the other ongoing investigations, and many of them involve Trump's inner circle, his advisors, and his family. But get this, that list is redacted. All you can see here is the number of cases. All it says is that these are ongoing investigations, and you can't see what's in them. But we have some clues. Here's a look at 3 we know are on this list.
I said to my lawyers, are we being looked at here? They don't even know what people are talking about.
Here's a hint. It all comes down to money. The first target, Trump Inc.
We need to follow his money. We need to find out where he's laundered money.
New York's Attorney General is going after Trump's business dealings, like those Trump Towers, and serious financial penalties are possible. She's subpoenaed 2 banks for his records. Also underway, a major tax investigation into Trump's finances that could also lead to a criminal probe. The next target, hush money. This time, it's New York federal prosecutors just a few kilometers away from Trump Tower. They're looking into those hush money payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels. And a key witness is Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, who turned and told his story to Mueller. According to Cohen, Trump and Don Jr. signed some of the hush money checks themselves. Cohen is now in jail, and Don Jr. could be next. A third legal target, the inauguration. Trump's inaugural committee took in a record $107 million. But where did all that cash come from? Federal prosecutors in New York City, Brooklyn, Washington, and LA are investigating potential campaign finance felonies, money laundering, and bribery, with help from Mueller witnesses Sam Patten and Rick Gates. Just a few more chapters to follow in the Mueller story.
God bless America.
For more on what's next, I'm joined by Gene Rossi from Washington. He's a former Department of Justice prosecutor. So, Gene, he's called Trump's Attorney General, but who does Barr actually work for? Does he work for the president or for the country as a whole?
That's a fantastic question, Wendy. The Attorney General of the United States is often called the people's lawyer. He works for the United States of America. He doesn't represent the president. He doesn't even represent the White House. He represents the rule of law and Lady Justice. When I was a federal prosecutor for almost 30 years and I stood up in court, I would say Gene Rossi for the United States. And I took that statement very seriously. And when the Attorney General got up at his press conference, he wasn't saying Bill Barr for the United States. He was essentially saying Bill Barr, attorney for Donald Trump.
So the Mueller report reveals even more details about how Trump tried to pressure Barr's predecessor, Jeff Sessions, when he was AG, about how he fired the FBI's James Comey, about how he tried to fire Mueller. I mean, is this just a tale of Trump trying to pressure Barr? I mean, what is the interpretation here?
Well, I don't think the president has directly pressured Barr, but I can say this. Through aides and assistants and aide-de-camps, I'm sure that the staff of the president and the staff of the Attorney General have been communicating about this report. And I got to tell you this, some of the things that Attorney General Barr said in his prepared remarks seem to come from the campaign headquarters of Donald Trump. No collusion. The president had a sincere belief. There was no substantial evidence. I got to tell you, if you read that report in detail, there is absolutely no way you can conclude that the president had a sincere belief when he asked people to lie, when he asked people to make fake documents, and he outright fired people or threatened to fire people because they didn't do his bidding, or he dangled pardons to potential witnesses. I gotta tell you, Wendy, this report reads like a script for the movie Godfather 4.
Well, Mueller has said that he can't indict a sitting president, but it does seem very clear he's telling Congress that it would put Trump above the law if they don't take the evidence that he has provided and investigate even a sitting president. Is that what is expected now? That's not what Barr seemed to be setting up.
I think what Mueller did in that report is say, I found substantial evidence of obstruction of justice. I cannot conclude that the president did not break the law on obstruction. That's a big deal, by the way.
But Barr is making it sound like it's over. And yet Mueller seems to be saying to Congress, go for it. And that's certainly what the Democrats are reading into this.
He is essentially saying, I found evidence of obstruction. I could not find evidence to clear the president. I found evidence of obstruction. And Congress, you now have the duty to take what I've printed and reported and make your own determination about whether the acts of alleged obstruction rise to impeachment. That is essentially the punchline of that report.
So what happens now? Like the president is saying game over. Barr is saying that he's been exonerated. Can Barr prevent Congress from going further into this investigation?
Mr. Barr could hinder the investigation, but I don't think that's going to be successful.
Why not?
Because when the subpoena issue goes to the federal courts, if the government and the Department of Justice doesn't comply with providing the full report, if it goes to the federal courts, there is no way that the Supreme Court of the United States will not say that the House Judiciary Committee and the Intelligence Committee have the right, as part of their oversight of determinations and impeachment determinations, to get the full report. This is going to be a constitutional crisis. It may take a couple of months, maybe about 6 months, but at the end of the day, the Congress is going to get the full report. I guarantee that.